There's a chair hanging from the ceiling of the Thirsk Museum in North Yorkshire, and there's a very good reason it can never touch the ground again. Many who sat in Thomas Busby's chair later suffered sudden misfortune, including wartime airmen and skeptical visitors who laughed at the curse. According to legend, Busby cursed the chair before his execution in 1702, declaring that anyone who sat in it would meet an untimely death. The museum had to suspend it from the ceiling because the death toll was getting too high. But this haunted seat is just the first stop on our tour of cursed objects. Welcome to a collection where beauty and terror walk hand in hand, and the most innocent-looking items harbor the darkest secrets. The crown jewels of catastrophe. Some of the world's most stunning treasures carry the darkest histories. The Hope Diamond sits behind bulletproof glass, its deep blue surface gleaming under museum lights. Visitors admire its beauty, but few know the trail of blood it left behind. Legend says this 45-carat gem brought disaster to rulers and courtiers, though records blur myth and fact. After Jean-Baptiste Tavernier sold the gem, then called the Tavernier Blue, to King Louis XIV, Tavernier later died in a dog mauling. Princess de Lamballe was torn apart by an angry mob during the French Revolution. Marie Antoinette lost her head to the guillotine. Each owner seemed to meet a violent, tragic end. The diamond appeared to feed on misfortune, growing more beautiful with each life it claimed. The pattern was always the same: wealth, power, beauty, then sudden, horrific death. But here's where it gets strange. The curse suddenly stopped in 1958 when Harry Winston donated the diamond to the Smithsonian. No major tragedies are recorded among museum staff or visitors since then. Winston himself lived a long, successful life. The postman who delivered it to the museum? Also fine. It's as if the diamond went dormant the moment it became public property. The Koh-i-Noor diamond tells a similar story, but with a twist. Tradition holds that any man who owns it will lose his power or his life, though this too remains anecdotal legend. The British crown jewels now keep it safely in female hands, worn only by queens and queen mothers. Every male ruler who possessed it throughout history either died in battle or lost his throne. The British learned from these bloody lessons and broke the pattern through careful gender politics. These aren't just pretty rocks. They're repositories of human suffering, each facet reflecting centuries of pain and loss. The Hope Diamond alone has witnessed more death than most battlefields. When you look at its perfect blue surface, you're staring into something that has watched empires fall and kings die screaming. The evidence suggests that cursed objects often disguise themselves as treasures, luring victims with beauty before revealing their true nature. But these distant curses pale in comparison to objects that form intimate relationships with their victims. The personal tormentors. Imagine buying something at a yard sale and bringing home a nightmare that refuses to leave. Some cursed objects don't wait for you to use them. They actively hunt you down. The Dybbuk Box looks innocent enough. Just an old wine cabinet sitting on your kitchen counter. But the moment it enters your home, the nightmares begin. Shadows move in your peripheral vision. You catch glimpses of things that shouldn't be there. Evan Manis bought this box at an estate sale in Oregon and immediately regretted it. Inside, he found locks of hair, dried flowers, and a small goblet, items that belonged to a Holocaust survivor who claimed the box housed a malevolent Dybbuk. In 2021, the original eBay seller admitted he invented much of the backstory, blurring fact and folklore. Every owner reports the same terrifying experiences. Owners report experiences such as the smell of cat urine filling rooms where no cats have been, waking up with unexplained scratches and bruises, and lights flickering when they get too close. One owner described waking up to find shadowy figures standing at the foot of his bed. Another reported that every electrical device in his house would malfunction whenever he approached the box. The Dybbuk is a restless spirit from Jewish folklore that possesses the living. This particular spirit seems especially angry, targeting anyone who comes near its wooden prison. Families have reported overwhelming feelings of dread that follow them everywhere. Children start having nightmares about dark figures. Adults develop unexplained illnesses that doctors can't diagnose or treat. Robert the Doll at the Fort East Martello Museum in Key West takes a different approach entirely. This century-old plaything doesn't hide in shadows. Visitors swear his expression changes throughout the day. Sometimes he looks innocent and childlike. Other times his face twists into something much more sinister. Robert was given to young Robert Eugene Otto in the 1900s by a servant who reportedly knew voodoo. Local legend claims neighbors saw the doll moving between windows when the house was empty, and parents heard giggles coming from Robert's room late at night. Here's where it gets even creepier. The museum receives hundreds of apology letters from people who disrespected Robert and then suffered car accidents, broken bones, and job loss within weeks. Visitors who mock the doll or take unauthorized photos report immediate misfortune. What would you do if an antique doll seemed to follow you home, in your dreams? These objects create intimate relationships with their victims, following them home and into their nightmares. But individual curses pale in comparison to what happens when supernatural terror spreads to thousands of people at once. When curses go viral, the Crying Boy painting proves that mass production can turn a simple decoration into a nationwide nightmare. In the 1980s, British tabloids began reporting a disturbing pattern. House fires were breaking out across the UK, and in the ashes, investigators kept finding the same thing, an undamaged painting of a crying boy. This mass-produced print by Giovanni Bragolin from the 1950s was everywhere. Thousands of copies hung in homes across Britain. Department stores sold them. People bought them as cheap decorations without thinking twice. But as the fire reports mounted, people realized something horrifying. The painting survived every blaze while everything else burned. Firefighters would sift through the charred remains of entire homes and find this one item sitting perfectly intact in the rubble. Families who lost everything would discover the painting untouched, as if it had orchestrated the destruction around it while protecting itself from the flames. The panic spread faster than the fires themselves. The Sun newspaper estimated that approximately 30,000 copies were hanging in British homes. They offered to destroy owners' copies on Halloween 1985 to help calm public fears. People began burning their copies in massive bonfires across the country. Here's where it gets even creepier. Some paintings reportedly withstood the flames, sitting completely unharmed as if they were immune to destruction. Meanwhile, the Myrtles Plantation Mirror shows how location-based curses work differently. This antique mirror in Louisiana allegedly traps the spirits of Sarah Woodruff and her 2 daughters, who died from poisoning over a century ago. Tradition dictates covering mirrors after death, but this one remained uncovered, breaking mourning customs. Visitors continue reporting handprints, unexplained fogging, and ghostly faces, suggesting the curse endures. Unlike portable cursed objects that you can throw away or burn, this mirror creates a permanent supernatural prison. Anyone who looks into it accidentally peers into a spiritual trap that's been active for generations. From a painting that resists fire to a mirror that traps spirits, these objects show how curses can spread beyond a single owner. When cursed objects reach thousands of people simultaneously, the line between supernatural influence and mass hysteria becomes impossible to draw. Fear itself becomes the curse, spreading from house to house faster than any supernatural force ever could. In conclusion, these